Hello, everybody, and welcome to what we're going to call our first ever encore presentation of the What's New in Escapia special Q&A session. We're excited because what happened in our last webinar, for all of those of you that were on it, is we had a lot of questions, and rightly so, as we talked a lot about what's coming up in Escapia, what is currently available, and that garnered a lot of interest. While we got to some of the questions at the end of the webinar, we actually had over 100 questions submitted throughout the webinar. That's a lot. And we actually get really excited because that allows us a lot of opportunity to both educate and then answer questions that you have. So we have never done this before, but we are sending out a dedicated time and space to answer as many of these questions as we can. And so we figured we're going to do this, answer the questions, and be able to get back to you on some of those burning ones, because we feel like a lot of the questions were not only relevant to you as the one who asked them, but also to probably the entire property manager and Escapia community. And so with that, here we go. We want to jump right in. Welcome to the additional Q&A session, special recording here. And with that, we're going to kick off right into the groups that you see here. We're going to answer questions on topic and then get to some general ones at the end. And we'll see how many we get through. So with that, let's start with the rate managers. And Lisa, why don't we get into the first set of questions that relate to rate manager specific questions. First and foremost, can you copy all existing rates from an existing season to a new season?
Yeah, great question. So we're starting with setting up and copying new base rates as opposed to existing rates on the rates grid, since most likely you've done some optimizations in 2022 and adjusted those rates. Most of the feedback that we've gotten is that you all want to copy the original rates and not those optimized rates that happen throughout the year, because they may be based off of one-time situations and may not impact future years' rates.
Perfect. Next question, we're just going to go rapid style here so we can get to as many as we can. Is there a better way in rate strategies to get a specific strategy? And you can see the context down below with that question. The only option is to click through until you find a strategy you want right now in the editor.
So currently we don't have another way, but we rely on feedback like this to keep improving our new features. So thank you for this. I'm going to add this to our backlog to be prioritized with our other enhancement requests.
Great. If that's something that is used a lot as far as the strategies goes, then give us that feedback, right? And that's the point. Next one, has a date been set for when rate manager will be mandatory? I know we talked about this briefly in the webinar, but let's go ahead and answer this again specifically.
We don't currently have a formal date this time. We're working towards those details. Our target is to give you all enough time to be prepared, 6 months at least, but there's really no need to wait until an announcement. There are many benefits to migrating now if you're able to.
Exactly. And I will add a note to that is, while what Lisa said is true, we do encourage you to use it as soon as possible, because we do feel like the new features and functionality will help you and your teams actually operate more efficiently. So there's a lot of benefits to doing it now, but no, it won't be tomorrow, and we will give you a lot of heads up before we get to the point of doing that. How can the rates in market rates be validated so I can trust them? Somebody here is utilizing key data to shop competitors as well, and often find the recommendations in Escapia are different than what they're seeing in these other sources.
Yeah, we like to think of it as, you all knowing your market better than anyone else or any tool. So we do have some customers that use market rates as a reference, and they compare them with these other dynamic pricing tools. And this is why we made it really easy for you to kind of look at those different rates and inputs and what you're seeing in the market, and make those changes in the rates manager. You might be splitting the difference between what you see in key data and market maker rates. But if you're looking for full automation, check out our new dynamic pricing partners. Some of them even have explanations for why a certain rate is suggested.
Great suggestion. So continue to use all the resources available to you. And can we use Rate Manager for tiered rates based on the number of people or rooms?
We don't currently have this functionality directly in the rates manager. You can, however, use charge templates to add a per person fee for all of your guests, and then you can group that fee with rent.
Right. Can we set a unit level minimum night base rate in the rate manager?
Yes, definitely. You can set the unit level midnight stay. Just simply click on one or more of the units on the left-hand unit list. And then when the box pops up, you select a date range. This could be a full year or just a season. And then set your minimum night stay for your selected units. And then when you turn on the minimum night stay overlay, you'll be able to see those new unit level overrides.
Quick and easy. I like that. When creating seasons, will dates automatically adjust, i.e. spring break as a new season? Will the original season change based off of the adjustments year to year?
Yeah, so we actually give you all the control to select the dates that you use both when you're creating seasons and copying season. So you could set dates for, let's say, spring break 2024. And then when it's time, copy those same base rates and midnight stay, and then apply them to dates that you set for your spring break 2025.
Awesome. Well, that was a lot of rapid fire on the rate side of things, but between Lisa's presentation and the webinar and these questions, hopefully that answers a lot of the burning questions here that we went through and thought everyone would like to hear. So now changing gears, communication hub, we talked a lot about. There's a lot of questions here too. So we're going to jump right into that and talk about the plans and the questions here. Are there any plans to have additional automated emails, i.e. sending an email a week before check-in?
Yes, so we are going to assume that this means for CommHub. And yes, as we work to bring emails into Communications Hub, we will then work to bring scheduling of templates to have those automatically send out. However, today you can go into Escapia and you would go to admin setup correspondence. And then that's where you would set up your correspondence templates today in Escapia. And we did add an automation tab about 3 years ago where you can go and schedule those emails to go out a week before arrival. So in the interim, you can already do that today in Escapia, but it will be moved to CommHub.
Awesome. So a yes and a yes sounds like 2 yeses. Yes, you can do it. You can do it now. And then yes, it's coming eventually moving over to CommHub. That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, phone number. What phone number do guests see when you send a text through CommHub?
Good question. So when you send a text message through CommHub, it does come from a randomized phone number through the text message system. We are looking at ways to be able to have that come from a non-phone number. So it looks more when you get a text that doesn't show an actual phone number. And then also we're exploring opportunities if we could send it from a unique phone number address or phone number for each property manager that then would forward to your property. Neither of those are happening right now, but we are looking into those and exploring our options there.
Great. And then if travelers include websites and phone numbers in the inbox, will they be redacted? We know there's been a lot of, free text questions as far as what happens there. So how does that work?
Absolutely. So this is going to be, the short answer is no. However, if they're sending something directly to you, we're not redacting anything through Escapia. However, if you're using a third-party channel, so perhaps it's an inquiry from Verbo, any of the redaction that happens on the Verbo side primarily in inquiry phase would still exist. So whether you do it through the CommHub or through Verbo directly, the same rules there apply that Verbo has. So it'd probably be similar if you were getting inquiries from other third parties, how that pulls in and what they choose to redact would consist with that website, but it's not on the Escapia side. We'll push through anything we have and we'll push out anything you try to send. But the channel does have those options.
Right. All right. Thank you for that with CommHub. And now we're going to move on to signature platforms and contracts. And let's get right into that. When will the signatures platform option be available to all properties and or users?
Great question. Our goal right now is to have signatures platform available to all property managers within the first couple months of 2023. So you have that to look forward to in the new year if you don't already have access. You'll also be notified via an in-app pop-up that will contain the instructions for how to get started creating your first template and how to send your rental agreements out to all of your different guests.
Awesome. So coming real soon. So please be on the lookout if you don't have it. Like she says, these are examples of new things rolling out that we want you to take advantage of and be on the lookout for. In the rental agreement signatures, will the clients be able to initial certain lines and include credit card information?
Yes and yes. So you will see once you have access, if you don't already, to Signatures platform. In the template editor, there's a merge tag called line for initials. And this is what you can use to collect the initials from your guests. And then there'll also be a merge tag currently called payment details, where you will be able to include the credit card information for your guest.
Great. We know that's important and we did take that into account. Is there a way to put a spot for the guest to fill in text, similar to last question, in the agreements and addendums? Like that, can they put the name of the guest in their party?
Yes, absolutely. So we also have a merge tag called empty text box. And in this example, you could have manually typed out, enter your guest names here, and the guest can then fill in all of the different guests that will be joining them for that stay.
Great. And we know that's important in some cases, depending on your jurisdiction and the requirements in your local area or that you want in the first case. So we do take that into account. Will there be an option to upload PDFs or Word documents for current agreements that are already in place?
This is a really good question. We know you don't want to have to do duplicate work if you've already created your template somewhere else. You will be able to copy and paste the content of an existing rental agreement or addendum into the Signatures platform template editor. However, just be sure to validate your merge tags. The merge tag names may not be one-to-one with the system you were using previously, and we want to make sure the correct data from Escapia that you want populated with that merge tag is pulled correctly. So just be sure to validate that and double check your merge tags after you paste the content into the template editor.
That's right. Thank you, Jenna. And as always, I think it's a good note here as we've talked through some of these. This is a good example of, while there's an easy way to copy and paste here or to use new tools and features that we release, we always encourage you to please double check that it is what you want, make the necessary changes. Because even with automation, uploading and or copying and pasting, you always want to just double check that work on your end anyways. So great suggestion on that end. Okay, and then Adobe. Will Adobe continue to remind guests for signatures like in Glad?
The answer is yes. So right now, Adobe's functionality will send a reminder to guests with the unsigned contract status, a reminder every 24 hours to sign their contract. If this isn't frequently enough, we also have the option for you to send an additional reminder manually through the rental agreements page under rental agreements, and then the actions column. You can drill down into one of your contracts and hit remind. So an additional reminder will be sent to the guests to sign it if they happen to miss the one earlier that day.
Great. And thank you, Jenna, for all of those. And now we'll go into unit editor. I will be filling in on some of these questions about the new unit editor. I believe we have one. The question was around half bedrooms. We use half bedrooms or 0.5 there to indicate lofts in the old interface. That's how you're currently, or you used to do it. How can I show a loft in the new unit details? So before it was a little bit different, where you would actually indicate like half bedrooms and have to kind of adjust or know that that was indicating a loft type of situation. The difference now is there's actually a drop down designation for loft. And so when you look at those two differences, part of the reason by us redoing this unit editor was actually to allow you to designate something more specific and more accurate than it was before with having to use half bedrooms and everything. So a loft is actually a drop down now in the new unit editor. Good question on that. Now we'll move on to just other general questions here to round out the rapid fire Q&A session here. These are general questions, not necessarily specific to any topic, but just more questions that Escapia customers asked. Number one, will there ever be a mobile website or mobile websites or apps? That's a great question. We get asked this a lot. I will go ahead and answer that. The answer to this is we don't have a specific plan on having a separate app and or mobile website different than Escapia. Our goal moving forward is to say we want Escapia itself, as you currently see it, to be mobile friendly. And so some of the new features that are coming out, i.e. the rate editor being a good example, we try to make sure it's mobile responsive. We know that a lot of the intent here is behind teams that you work with, whether it be vendors or cleaners or repair people or even your own staff that are out in the field. We want to make sure that it's accessible and mobile friendly on whatever device they're on. And so our goal is to update Escapia to be mobile friendly wherever you might be, and so they can use it however they need to. Next question, are new features updated automatically, or do we need to do something in Escapia to see these things? This is a two-part kind of answer. Number one is it's yes and no. So number one is when we release a new feature in Escapia, that is automatically in Escapia's system or in your account. So you don't have to refresh or do something proactively to enable a feature. However, the caveat there is it's dependent on what feature and what functionality we're talking about. It may require you to do new setup and or settings or get some additional training with our team. A good example is if we go back to two examples would be the rate editor. The rate editor requires changing your settings, changing how you set up your rates, and a little bit more proactive back and forth between us and you to make sure it's accurately done and set up properly from the old to the new. That would be not what I would call automatic. It takes some back and forth and some work on both ends, versus other features that if it doesn't require work, feature changes, setting changes, or anything to be transferred, that will automatically happen in Escapia, and you'll just see the new kind of functionality there. It doesn't require you to do anything. This is important though to, again, stay up to date and pay attention to when we communicate with you, because we will always be clear on what you need to do as a property manager, as a customer, when a feature is released, whether it requires you to do nothing, whether you see it, or whether we say, hey, reach out and start doing X, Y, Z. Just pay attention to our communication because we'll help you through it either way. Next question, can our staff make their own accounts in the new Escapia University? We talked about this in the webinar about how we have a new university login and a new system there powering the university. It can be one login. However, we do encourage everybody that is going to need access or want access to go ahead and create an account. You can do either way, but creating accounts is easy and fast and free. So you might as well have everyone be able to have their own, or you can have a joint account and log in under that. Either way works. So, and all of it is an option. I would like to connect with somebody to recap how we're using Escapia, get insights, and how and using Escapia to the fullest. Do you offer anything similar to the onboarding process we have? We did, again, briefly touch on this as one of the highlights at the end of our webinar, and we'll touch on it again, is we hope to provide you with an entire list of resources that would fit your needs between Escapia University, between the online training modules, everything that you would need. You should be able to get what you need and get answers you want between our teams and what's online. However, if you want something more connected like training or in-person training, then you go to the escapia.com/training page, and there you can actually request now professional services where we can set up separately. You can pay for one-on-one training as a customer. Or again, you can see all the other options that I just brought up as far as if I have a question or want more training, should it be modules or do we want somebody? We have both options available for you now. So go ahead and go to that URL and you can go any route you want to that you and your teams are best suited for. I think that rounds out all of our extra questions that we went through. A lot of the questions that we had were either multiple of the same or everything here. I do want to say thank you to everyone here on the phone, answering the questions our product managers and teams. And thank you again as a customer. I hope you enjoyed this encore session of Q&A. We felt it relevant and needed quickly to get back to you because, again, this is important to us. Your feedback's important as usual, and answering your questions, I hope, is useful as you go into the holiday season, into next year, with basically knowing what's coming and now having your questions answered on how to utilize all of these things coming. Thank you again, and we hope to chat with you soon.